Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes here. Snakes are laying eggs like crazy, so this show is going to be all about the snake egg. You're watching SnakeBytes. Take a look at that. That's exactly what a snake breeder gets super excited about. We work all year to find a clutch of eggs just like this. And this time of year for us, there's up to 1,000+ eggs every single day. So we're absolutely just out of our mind excited about the potential of the hatchlings coming up. But I want to take the time and spend this whole episode talking about eggs and how we manage those eggs. So let's start off by looking at what a snake egg actually is.
70% of snake species lay eggs, and the term for these snakes is oviparous. Snake eggs have a thick and leathery outer shell that can withstand physical force and desiccation. The snake embryo attaches itself to the top of the egg and develops an air sac for respiration. Surrounding the embryo and air sac is a fluid called albumin. Snake eggs stick together to prevent the eggs from rolling and drowning the developing baby snake. These eggs will hatch at various lengths depending on the species, but the average is roughly 60 days. Once the baby snake emerges, it's completely independent of the parents and on its own to fend for itself.
What's the largest clutch of corn snake eggs that BHB has ever produced? A, 26, B, 38, or C, 42? Go ahead and comment down below with your guess and watch later in the show for the answer. All right, so we have a clutch of snake eggs. The next step is, what do we do with them? We've got to incubate them and hatch them, right? Well, there's a number of ways that you can do that, whether it comes to perlite, vermiculite, some people even use types of mosses, and even hatcherite. But for colubrids, we use vermiculite. Let me show you exactly how we set that up. All right, well, if you're setting up 1 or 2 egg boxes with vermiculite, it's pretty easy. You go with a 1-to-1 ratio, which is going to be weight to volume with water. But when you're doing as many boxes as we are, it's really hard to do it that way. So we're just going to pour vermiculite into a bucket just like this. Fill a bucket up with vermiculite. And then I've done so many egg boxes. I actually do it by feel, believe it or not. I just take water and I start to swish it around the vermiculite the best I can. Now the whole idea to this is that you want it to be as moist as possible, but not so wet that it's going to fungus over the egg and even drown the egg. So I just basically swish this water around until I get the ratio of water I want. Now a good rule of thumb is, if you squeeze the vermiculite, you really shouldn't get any water out of it. It should be completely damp and clumped just like this. All you have to do is fill up a nest box. We happen to use these shoe boxes right here, and I personally don't put any air holes whatsoever in any of my incubation boxes. I want to go with about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of vermiculite on the bottom, and again, I seal the top 100% so that there's no airflow whatsoever, and I'm going to check these guys probably once to twice a week throughout the entire incubation. But hey guys, the fun part is collecting eggs, right? Let's go get some eggs. Collecting snake eggs isn't like rocket science by any stretch, but it is kind of a process. The first thing that happens is Sam goes through this room every day and marks which animals have actually laid. And then I go back with my egg boxes that are already made up with the vermiculite that we showed you earlier, and then actually pull the egg. This just happens to be an albino corn, but as you can see, it's a beautiful clutch of eggs. And there happens to be no slugs whatsoever. Now you have to remember, just like Dr. Bibble Babble said, snake embryo is attached to the top of the egg, so it's very important that you never spin your egg whatsoever, because when you spin that egg, you're going to drown the embryo, and you can see right at the top is where that egg embryo is going to be. And all I do is just take them out, make sure to inspect the female so that she doesn't have any eggs caught in her whatsoever. It's called denocia. And this girl is pretty much good to go. You can see she's pretty thin though, so I'm definitely going to want to get her back in her cage and get a meal into her as quick as possible, because with colubrids you can double clutch them. You want to feed them as much as you can, go back and breed them in a couple weeks. After I get the eggs, I'm just going to go ahead and count them and document them. 2, 4, 6, 8 eggs in this clutch. Again, no slugs whatsoever. And again, record keeping is so important. We want to make sure when this snake's eggs hatch, we know exactly who the mother and father was for 2 reasons. That way we know exactly what we're selling genetically, and also if there happens to be a surprise, we can go back and pinpoint which female and which male was the mother and father. This clutch is a perfect example of snake eggs not sticking together like they're supposed to, which means that as the mother was moving around, she could easily have rolled the eggs. Now what we're going to need to do is handle the eggs, which is basically just looking inside and making sure that the embryo is to the top. To do that, we've got to go to the dark room. All right, so we're in the room where I can turn out the lights. What I want to use is a little flashlight just like this. This particular one lights up only on the very tip, but you can pretty much use almost any flashlight. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking for with the lights out. So what you want to do is put the tip of the light pen or any flashlight right up to the egg, and as you can see, it illuminates everything on the inside. In this case, you can see that little network of veins with the blood dot there. That happens to be the snake embryo. It's very important that that's at the very top or it won't hatch. Let's take a look what this het plasma has in store for us. And this is a perfect example that always makes me wonder, like, how in the heck can a snake like this do it? Look at this little tiny snake and all of these eggs. I'm always just blown away that all of these eggs fit into this little animal, and she actually still doesn't look that bad. She doesn't look exactly fat, but she doesn't look like she's death warmed over either. And again, this is a het plasma, which is a blood red lavender bred to a plasma, a lavender blood red or diffused corn. So this is going to be a really good clutch. I'm excited about this one. When it comes to incubating, every animal is a little bit different, but most colubrids actually incubate at about 82 degrees. Just so happens that we keep this room at 82 degrees, so we're able to keep our eggs right up on this shelf. And the other thing I want to talk about is humidity. The reason we go with egg boxes that are 100% sealed is because you want the humidity in those boxes to be 95% or better. And again, what we'll do is we'll just exchange that air maybe once or twice a week, because you got to remember, those little eggs are still breathing, but we just put them up here, check them, in 60 days we're gonna have babies. All right, let's see what we got in this clutch. This is actually pretty cool. It's a lavender snow cow, which is kind of a neat California king snake. And actually this clutch is a perfect example of something I was hoping to share with you guys. You can see that these eggs all look nice and pearly white, although every now and then you'll get a little bit of a spot just like this. That's not that uncommon really, and it's just where an egg didn't fully calcify. But this is what I really wanted to show you. You can see it's off-colored, kind of yellowish, brownish looking, nothing like these other eggs. It's also much smaller and kind of not so round whatsoever. This is what they refer to as an infertile egg or a slug egg. These are fertile, these are garbage. You don't want to find too many of these. Fortunately, in this clutch, it's only one slug and there's 5 good eggs, so I'm not going to really complain too much about that. All right, now that we're done with colubrids, it's not the only eggs that we collect this time of year. I'm going to move on to leopard geckos. Now, we use a different incubation medium for these guys. We prefer hatch right, which is really cool because all you have to do is literally take it out of the bag, and you can buy little bags of it. It's fantastic. It's already got a water isomer in it. You don't have to mix any water or anything. We put about this much in the bottom of a deli cup, and then we go ahead and collect eggs. But there's a few things I want to talk about with leopard geckos. They're a little different than colubrids. First off, they typically only lay 2 eggs at a time. Every now and then they'll shock you and only lay 1, but a female will typically lay 2 eggs, and she'll bury them in this cocoa fiber just like this. And you can see the nest is probably going to be right here, and there they are, sure enough. Let's see if there's only 2 eggs. Nope, it looks like there's more eggs, which means that more than 1 female laid in the last couple days, because we check these at least a few times a week. It looks like we have 2 eggs here. There should be 2 more, but right now I only see 1. So I wonder if this is one of those times when the female, nope, there's the other egg. So 2 females laid in this cage, a total of 4 eggs. Now when you're incubating these animals, it's a little bit different than colubrids. They have something that's called temperature sex determination, which basically just means if you incubate at a low temperature, you're going to get females. If you incubate at a higher temperature, you're going to get males. And if you incubate in between, you're going to get males and females. Seeing as we want to produce as many females as we can because we're growing our leopard gecko group, we're going to put these on the shelf at about 80 to 82 degrees, and we should get all females. What's interesting is, unlike snake eggs that you have to candle to make sure the embryo is on top, you can actually roll leopard gecko eggs and the embryo will roll with it, which is pretty cool because you don't have to be quite as delicate. Again, it's really exciting. I can't wait to start hatching leopard geckos. But hey, we still have to collect python eggs. Let's do that. All right, so we're gonna pull a pretty exciting clutch. This is an Enchi queen bee bred to pinstripe. And I looked at it a little bit earlier today and I wanted to show you guys because it's a monster clutch. Now pythons are a little bit different. We use hatchite just like we do on the leopard geckos. We have our best success with hatchite, with ball pythons in particular. But look at this girl. She is just wrapped around an enormous clutch of eggs. See if we can just slowly get her off. Holy cow, that's a lot of eggs. And again, I love pinstripe ball pythons. It's always special when you get a clutch like that. Look at the size of that clutch. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 eggs. That's a baker's dozen right there. And again, what we're gonna do is just put these guys right in this hatchite. But incubation's a little bit different as well. You can't just throw these guys up on a shelf. So let's go take a look at what we incubate these guys in. Now, when incubating python eggs, you gotta keep the temperature much more specific than, say, a colubrid or a leopard gecko. We wanna keep these guys at 88 or 89 degrees. And because I take my eggs home in a walk-in incubator, when I pull them earlier in the day, I use these scientific incubators just as kind of a holding pen until later. And again, these guys will keep the temperatures really solid at 88 to 89 degrees or 31 to 32 degrees centigrade. And that's gonna hold them there until I take them home later. Well, as you can see, guys, things are popping here. Eggs are going crazy. That means babies aren't that far off. I'm just so excited to show you what we're gonna hatch this year.
Okay guys, with all this talk about eggs today, we have a really important question to ask you. How do you like your eggs? Hard-boiled, over easy, sunny side up? Leave a comment below and let us know.
So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show and learned a little bit about snake eggs. If you want to follow any of those snakes laying eggs or any of my animal adventures, make sure to hit me up over on Facebook and Twitter at SnakeBytesTV. Till next week, you've been watching Snake Bites. What's the largest clutch of corn snake eggs that BHB has ever produced? If you said B, 38, you were 100% correct. Good job. Regretted selling them ever since. Well, about 6 years ago, he had the opportunity to buy some hets back, and the guy said there's no way that he was going to be able to breed them because he had attempted it for 9 years with no success whatsoever. Well, obviously, within 8 months,